bring it back to Minnesota. Anthony Edwards, the winningest playoff performer in Timberwolves playoff history. 20 playoff wins, 4 playoff series wins. Dude ain't even 24 years old yet. And it's funny because I don't even think that was the Timberwolves A game in that series against the Warriors. They eliminated the Warriors in 5 games. And obviously, Stephen Curry's injury 13 minutes into game 1 put a damper on the whole series. Nobody thought that they had a chance, really. You and I even said that it's going to be a long shot for them to extend it to get Steph back on the floor. They couldn't do that. So Timberwolves, for the second straight year, with a different roster, with Julius Randle instead of Karl Anthony Towns, with Dante DiVincenzo coming off the bench, are back. They're 4 wins away from the first ever finals trip in the NBA in franchise history, and 8 wins from their first NBA title. It's hard not to be impressed by them because we're talking about a team who, in the first round, found ways to win despite not playing their A game at all times. In the second round, again, sloppy at times, up and down at times, got their work done, only needed 10 games to do it.
Yeah, I think Anthony Edwards really impressed me in the series because it wasn't the loudest scoring series from him. Like, I know he had like it was like 26 point second half, and I think it was game 3. But like he wasn't like super efficient shooting or anything like that, but like he was taking what the defense was giving to him. And like the Warriors were sending 2 at him all day long, off ball screens, trapping him, blitzing him, everything. And he was making the right reads, the right plays over and over and over again. I don't remember how many assists he ended up with last night in the closeout game, but I mean, it just felt like he was making the right play. I think it was 12. Was it 12? Yeah.
I think it was 12.
That's incredible, man. Like, especially for a player who, like, I remember scouting him as a prospect, and like part of it, he was playing at Georgia with a bunch of guys that like he was taking the shot every single time, but like he was never looking to pass the ball. He had a broken A button. So it was like for him to like make the progression that he has in, I know that there was like the reports that he like reached out to Michael Jordan on like how to handle double teams. And like he was trying to study players that are doubled frequently to get better at handling those situations. And I was really impressed with the way that he was able to break down the Warriors defense, anything that they threw at him, and make the right basketball play to take the best play available. But, I mean, Anthony Edwards is obviously who we always start the conversation with, but Julius Randle, man, like what can we say? I think, those like, the like fake apology forms that like pop up on social media. Like I can't believe I haven't seen, check all the boxes that apply. Like I can't believe we haven't seen one of those, or at least I haven't seen one for Julius Randle yet, because Julius Randle is owed one of those, like, all right, everybody got to like sign this, apology sheet for Julius Randle, because man, I mean, he was incredible in this series. And he was, I want to say, and I didn't look at the stats after last night's game, but going into last night's game, he was leading every player in round 2 in assists per game. Like, that's just the way that he was playing. He was getting downhill. He was throwing shoulders off. He was, playing bully ball in the paint. He was knocking down 3-point shots that had Steph shaking his head, but he was also playmaking, making the right reads, everything like that. So, for the Wolves to be as dominant as they have been and look as dominant as they have been, like, yes, Anthony Edwards is always going to be the first player in person that everyone points to, but got to give a shout out to Julius Randle and give him his credit, because he is from the start of the season, where things were looking a little rocky after the trade, to the way that they looked in the last 2 playoff series. Like, Julius Randle looks like a perfect fit in Minnesota right now, and he's a massive reason the Wolves are rolling the way they are.
Tim Connolly knew, man, and I know we're using this to credit Julius Randle. I'm going to get back to that in one second, but I want to talk about Ant again real quick. And it was 22, 12, and 7 he had in the closeout game. And now it's the second year or third year, whatever it is, with Ant, and thinking about how he galvanizes his team, right? And there was an article, I only saw the excerpt, but it was Chris Finch saying, hey, man, Ant, make the right play. And Ant's like, what if I am the right play? And it's like, well, you know what? Like, Ant, that's a good point. But I say that to say that Ant has had so many teammates who have been maligned for a lot of things, between Cat and Rudy Gobert, who he calls Gobert still, and Julius Randle, who there were so many knocks on him. And I feel like Ant, despite being 23, for all of his, flaws and things that he's still figuring out as a young player, as a young man, he's a great leader. And he oftentimes shields his teammates, even if they've been in the league for 5-10 years longer than him. If they're 5-10 years older than him, he shields them from criticism. Or he kind of, in his own way, just says, hey, man, you're better than that. Or you did it, whatever. And I think that that's an underrated part in what Julius Randle has done these playoffs. I think that having Ant be that type of leader that he is, and I think that there's a certain level of emotional intelligence that he has that, it's in his own I think it's his authenticity and how he remains his authentic self. He brings out that from other people and knows how to connect with people and knows how to lead people. And I think the other part of it is him, like, kind of shying away and not wanting to be the face of the league, because I think what he says is that's not authentic to me. But what's authentic to him is the way he can talk. I remember when he was like a rookie, it was about Billy Hernangomez, I think. And he was like, hey, man, shoot the ball. That's what you get paid to do, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like, or I was Juancho, sorry. He was like, that's what you get paid to do. And it's like, Anthony Edwards is a rookie telling this guy, this. And that's just the player, the person he has been as long as he's been in the league. And I think coming back full circle, Julius Randle playing freely, all the things that happened in playoffs past don't seem to be impacting or affecting him at all. And I transitioned that into asking you, now that the Wolves are back, new look from last year, conference final, second straight year, where do you put their ceiling?
Oh man, I mean, put their ceiling, they could win the NBA championship too. I mean, I just said to you during the break, like, yeah, that's what, and I'll say it on the pod too. It's like, I really think that there is a legit chance that we are going to get a Pacers-Wolves NBA Finals, because I think those are the two teams that are playing the best basketball right now. In the Thunder, don't get me wrong, the Thunder are still terrifying. They're still scary. It still feels like, even though Shea has finally had some big games, we still haven't even seen the version of Shea that we saw in the regular season. And I know it's coming at some point, but I really feel like the two teams, if you were to ask me out of all the teams that are still left in the playoffs, to rank who's playing the best basketball right now, like the Wolves and Pacers would be fighting for the top spot 1 and 2, but they are certainly 1 and 2. And I know part of that is Denver is also a very, very worthy opponent. And those games have been incredible. And Jokic has been insane. And Aaron Gordon has been insane. And like that plays a big role in the Thunder looking more human than they have looked all regular season. Going up against a team that's been there before, has championship, swagger and everything like that. But, seriously, like when you're rolling the way that the Wolves are right now, I don't see why all of a sudden they're going to get into a conference finals matchup against, let's say it's okay. Again, we're going to use, like, we don't know what's going to happen tonight, but let's say it's OKC. Like, they're not all of a sudden going to stop making the right play. They're not going to all of a sudden start forcing bad shots and start getting lazy on defense. Like, that's just not how it works. Like, they're going to continue to play at the highest level possible. And I really think that even though the Thunder kind of rolled over everybody all year, like, I think the Wolves are good enough to win that series. And with the way that it's not even about Anthony Edwards, because that he's going to show up, but like with the way that Julius Randle is playing right now, and the way that they're getting contributions from other guys around them on random nights. Some nights it's been Jaden McDaniels, some nights it's Naz Reid. Man. Yeah, Mike Conley stepped up last night. Like, Rudy's had a couple big playoff games. Like, they're getting it from different guys. Like, the biggest question around the Wolves throughout the entire season was like, if Ant doesn't have it, who is going to step up and be that guy? Because Randall, it wasn't necessarily him. I mean, obviously he was in with some injuries and stuff too, but like with the consistent play that they're getting from him, and I almost want to bite my tongue because I want to see him do it again, even though he's already done it in 2 series. But like with the consistency that they've gotten from him, that is what makes me believe the Wolves could legitimately win the NBA Finals this year.
Yeah, and big shout out to Mountain Mike, old man Mike. It's the 07 draft class between him, Al Horford, and obviously KD and Jeff Green. But those guys to still be hanging around, and Mike Conley still to do what he's doing for this team at the playoffs at a high level. Really cool to see. Now, we talked about the other thing. We can wrap up here. Same conversation that we said. We kind of alluded to it already. Thunder up 3-2 tonight. They could close out. Nuggets could force a Game 7. Game 5 was a classic. I saw somebody on Twitter say, these are the type of games you show somebody when they ask you, why do you love basketball? That game was awesome. You had Jokic, Sombor shuffling into three-pointers. You know what I mean?
Crazy, man.
You got Shea stepping into the clutch bucket. Lou Dort not letting his confidence waver. Everything that you can, like, the boxes that check for what makes a good basketball game. Unsung hero steps up. Stars do star stuff. Shea even has been up and down really throughout the playoffs. But when they needed him most, he was there. And thinking about what this means, we were high, and we were talking about whether or not we thought the Nuggets could win another game in this series. We underestimated the fact that those guys have been playing above their level. Christian Brown, I know Michael Porter Jr. struggled. Jamal Murray, big shots. It kind of looked like 2023 or 2020 at one point in that third quarter of Game 5. So I guess just thinking about where we take stock of it right now, we don't have to spend too much time on it because the series could be over in a couple hours' time, right? But that being said, what do you take from either of these teams if and when they advance, because one of them is going to advance to take on the Timberwolves in the Western Conference Finals. Crazy to say that also.
Yeah, it is. It is. I actually, so I think to give you a prediction for tonight, I think the Thunder close it out on the road.
Yeah.
Like Jokic the other night was giving everything that he had. And it's clear that MPJ is just, I mean, if they had anybody else that could fill that role, he would not even be on the court, even though I know he's like really trying to tough it out. He can't even take his own jersey off because he can't lift his shoulder above his head. And, Jamal Murray, not for nothing, popped up on the injury report with an illness today, like late. And like, they're not throwing him on the injury report if it's not something that's worthy. Like, you're not playing mind games at this point in the series.
Right.
Like, at least I wouldn't think, so I would have to think that's a real illness that could actually like hinder him tonight. But it just doesn't feel like the Nuggets have enough support where like it feels like you said, like Lou was lost the entire game and then knocked down 3 huge threes to keep him in it. Like J-Dub's been up and down. He's had big games and bad games, but they just got different guys you can rely on.
Yeah, I would say he airballed that 3 and then came back and hit the biggest 3 of the game to go up 3. So I mean, short memory for him too. The corner.
Yeah. Yep. So I think the Thunder get it done in 6. And going up against the Wolves, like I think it's anybody's series. I think the Thunder are going to be heavily favored, but I think it's going to be a better series than whatever Vegas projects it to be. And who would I take to win that series? Like if I'm telling you right now, I would still take Oklahoma City, but I'm just saying like I would not be shocked if Minnesota could pull it off. And I already made my prediction that I think the Pacers are going to the NBA Finals out of the East. Like I would still stick with the Thunder in the West, but I really feel like Minnesota they're not going to roll over. It's going to be a really good series. It's going to look a lot like this Denver series did in terms of just back and forth. Like, I don't think it's even going to be a situation where like, it's like, oh, a team's up 3-1 and then, maybe Minnesota wins the next one and it's 3-2 and then the Thunder close it out, but it never felt like Minnesota really had a chance. Like, I really think it's going to be kind of like this Denver series where it's like 1-1, 2-2, 3-2, maybe even 3-3.
Whoever wins this is going to,
Right. Yeah. That's kind of what I don't know if you feel the same way, but that's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, I feel similarly. I think one thing, and I think that, again, we kind of have to throw out that Grizzlies series. They were hurt. They weren't ready. New coach, a lot of weird stuff going on there. And the Thunder it was high and by. But this series has really tested the Thunder. And we've talked about them growing up in real time. And each series obviously presents different challenges. But what I am interested in thinking about, it's going to be a very different opponent than the Thunder have faced. Honestly, he probably couldn't have faced like a wider range of teams than Memphis to Denver to Minnesota. But what I think about that is the sloppiness that Minnesota play with. They got to clean that up, because if it's one thing OKC is going to do, they're going to make you make mistakes and they're going to make you pay for those mistakes. So that's one of the big things that during the regular season, however, Timberwolves had their fair share of success against the Thunder. Right? Like they made life pretty difficult for Shea. And what we've seen and what the Thunder have needed to learn in that game that they won out in Denver was big, game 4, to avoid that 3-1 series deficit, was learning how to win ugly. I tweeted about it. They couldn't win ugly. We talked about that during the NBA Cup. When Shea can't get it going, what's going to happen? How are you going to dig deep? And they're learning how to dig deep. I think that Minnesota doesn't necessarily want to drag you down there, but they can. We saw them drag the Lakers down there. Lakers, their low scoring numbers and some of the ugly scoring numbers we saw in that Warrior series as well. So I think the key for them is going to win ugly, but not sloppy. And I think that's like a little bit of a distinction there. So it's going to be a good series. I lean Thunder as well. And to bring it full circle, when you're talking about the Pacers, talking about them and their ability to go 8, 9, 10 deep, the Thunder had that too. And it's not necessarily the sexiest finals matchup between the biggest markets, but man, it'd be good hoops regardless. Indiana, New York, OKC, Denver, Boston, Minnesota, whatever it is, it's good hoops. And it's an exciting time, to look forward to. So I'm really excited to see how it unfolds. And once we get these series set, to talk conference finals on NBA Soundsystem.
Yeah, I mean, I've been throwing out predictions, so let me throw one more at you. But if the Knicks don't take care of Boston on Friday, they're not winning that series, man. Boston's getting it done at home. If they can force a game 7,
I agree.
The Knicks should have killed them when they could in game 5, and they missed their opportunity there. But if they were to somehow, I'm expecting MSG to be rocking, and I really do think the Knicks end up closing out the series. But if they don't, they're not winning game 7 back in Boston. I'll tell you that right now. So all of a sudden, a lot of what we just said goes out the window, and we're going to be talking about different series on the pod here. And I'd be happy to be wrong about the Minnesota. I'd be happy to be wrong about the Oklahoma City game too tonight and see a game 7 between those two teams, because like you said, game 5 was an instant classic. I can't imagine what a game 7 would look like between those two.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, yeah, like you said, for other reasons, if you're just a casual fan of the game, it's a great time to be a fan of basketball and good hoops. Got a lot to enjoy. Thanks for checking out NBA Sound System Canada on YouTube. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe below and find us wherever you get your podcasts. And on Instagram, we have weekly episodes and bonus content throughout the week.